Before leaving on a long trip, I decided to do a 3-day 180-kilometer trial run to test my camper's new features and to test myself after having undergone new health issues. I'll be taking you on the trip to Plaisance National Park, Quebec, and reveal the problems I've encountered. I'm leaving at 11 o'clock on a partially cloudy day. In addition to the features I described in my video, improvements to the Bériault Bicycle Camper, to which I will leave a link at the end of this video, I added a 100-watt solar panel and a 57-watt MPPT controller. This plugs into the bicycle's battery and charges the battery while underway. Plaisance National Park is situated on the north shore of the Ottawa River, between the cities of Gatineau and Montreal, 57 kilometers east of my home. This map shows the region, which encompasses a section of the state of New York. At times I'm riding under full sun. At those times, the battery is receiving about 1 amp at 57 volts. A simple multiplication of volts times amps reveals that the battery is then receiving 57 watts of power. Over an hour, that would be 57 watt-hours. At 22 kilometers an hour, with my camper in tow, I'm drawing about 250 watt-hours, which means that the panel is giving me about 1/5 of what the motor is requiring. At times today, there will be partial cloud cover, which is going to result in about 1/10 of an amp, which translates to 5 or 6 watts, which is really insignificant. When I'm stopping, however, the solar panel keeps on producing power while the motor is drawing none. So overall, at the end of the day, the solar panel provides about 15 to 20% of what I need. But when I'm riding in the shade of trees or under complete cloud cover, the panel produces nothing and becomes dead weight. Since it doesn't produce power reliably, it doesn't do much to relieve me from range anxiety. Here the patroller informs me that the trail is closed, which is pretty obvious. Then she advises me that I should backtrack and take a long detour on the other side of the busy boulevard. I don't like that idea, and I take advantage of a lull in the traffic. I'm going to follow the Route Verte all the way to my destination. The route verte is composed of bicycle trails, dedicated lanes, and paved shoulders. One advantage I found when I'm traveling is that the solar panel is a conversation piece. It's like walking with a beautiful dog on a leash. Because we hear so much about global warming and how we should curb our energy consumption, people are very interested in alternative energy. So they come right up to me and spark a conversation. But I have to find a campsite with electrical power every night, whether the solar panel produces power or not. Also, the trailer is already very heavy, and the solar panel adds another 5 pounds or 2 kilograms to the total weight. I question whether or not it's worth having a solar panel at all. Unless one has a large enough solar array to provide all the power the bicycle needs, it's probably not worth hauling around just 100 watts of solar power. A wiser option might be to buy an extra battery. A fully charged battery can always be counted upon to deliver its capacity, whether it's cloudy or sunny. A good quality lithium-ion battery can provide about 80 watt-hours per pound or about 175 watt-hours per kilogram. I'm really fortunate on this trip. My daughter Natl will be joining me for one night at the campsite, and my son Philippe is following me on his e-bike to Masson, about halfway to Plaisance Park. He's filming some footage of me and my trailer on that leg of the trip. So far, I haven't tested the camper in steep hills. That's something I will do when I return. A good test will be to take the fully loaded trailer up to the Champlain Lookout in Gatineau Park near home. That would be an elevation difference of 362 meters. Both aspects of the hills need to be tested, the ups and the downs. The climbs are much harder on the battery than riding on level ground, so I need to find out how much power I need per meter of ascent. And the descents are hard on the brakes. This is when it would be good to have regenerative braking. In steep hills, when it's necessary to use the brakes, regen braking saves on brake pads and is safer than depending entirely on those tiny pads for slowing down all that weight. A large part of the trip takes place within the municipality of Gatineau. From west to east, Gatineau is about 40 kilometers long, so until we get past Masson, we will be in Gatineau even if part of it is clearly rural in nature. The road to Plaisance isn't my favorite. It takes almost an hour to get past the city. Some of that consists of nice trails, but most of it involves dedicated bicycle lanes or paved shoulders. There are a lot of rough portions, and the shoulders are often strewn with debris. And the highway portion, even on a weekday like today, has a lot of noisy traffic. I'll speed things up a little bit for you here. This is our meeting place in Masson, a municipal park where Natl is waiting for me. We sit down to eat a lunch we had packed beforehand, and then we leave for the rest of the trip to our destination. The red RAV4 with a white Pedego at the back that's passing me is Natalie's. Natl waits for me a few times along the road. I stop here to show you the Thurso pulp and paper plant at the entrance of the town of Thurso. The town is known to all its downwind neighbors for its very peculiar odor of rotten eggs. At the corner, I'll be turning off to the right in the direction of the Ottawa River to follow the Outaouais pathway to Plaisance. At the start it looks like a beautiful path, and it is. The problem is that due to the heavy spring flood that took place this year, the trail is damaged. In some places the surface is covered with sand and gravel. I'm having difficulty with towing my trailer in this. I conclude that the trail can only be negotiated safely with a mountain bike. So, reluctantly, I turn back and take the highway the rest of the way to Plaisance National Park. Provincial campsites are very expensive in Quebec because in addition to the charge for the campsite proper, we have to pay $8 a day per person as a park fee. I don't mind too much having to dish out $68 a night because I tell myself that as a taxpayer, I may not want to be paying for other people to use the park when I'm not using it. We now cross the Petite Nation River, a tributary of the Ottawa River at the entrance of the national park. We stop on the way in to confirm my reservation and to pick up our campsite tag. On the first night in the campground, Natl spends the evening with me and sleeps in her tent next to my camper. My plan was to spend 2 nights in the park. The following morning, we had time to explore the trails on our e-bikes since Natl only needed to leave by noon. After Natl left, I went on a 50-kilometer tour of the park on my Pedego, without the trailer, of course. Plaisance National Park has been created to protect an extensive expanse of wetlands. It's also an important migratory stopover for the Canada goose. During the summer we can see ducks, the great heron, the osprey, and more than 250 species of birds, as well as snapping turtles and a variety of mammals. In addition to hiking trails, there are several kilometers of road and even active farms within the park. It's somewhat of a misnomer to call the park a national park because it's owned by the provincial government of Quebec. But since Quebecers consider themselves a society distinct from the rest of Canada, everything the province owns is deemed to be part of the nation of Quebec. Nature lovers can have their fill of beautiful walking or biking trails that take them through a variety of scenery. This is the largest wetland in the park. A beautiful system of boardwalks has been installed to allow us to view the wildlife that inhabits this complex ecosystem. That's one of the things we pay for with our $8 a day. I'm surprised to see not a single person using this wonderful infrastructure. It's 5:30, so maybe everybody's busy preparing supper. Now it's time to head back to my campsite. Back at my campsite, it's now my turn to have supper. And of course, after supper, the inevitable dishes. Since the weather had been uncertain for the previous days, I waited till the last minute to reserve a campsite. The choice was limited, so I ended up with a campsite that was mostly in the sun. During the day, the sun had been bearing down on my camper with all its power. The yellow and black parts of the foot pullout came apart. The black coroplast had absorbed heat from the sun and had become very hot. The hot glue that kept the yellow and black parts together had softened, and they came apart. The opposite side of the pullout, which was in the shade, was intact. The new pullout was made with a piece of 10 mm thick black coroplast and a piece of 4 mm thick yellow. So a temporary repair needed to be done. When in trouble, duct tape. This repair would probably last the rest of the summer, but when I get back home I'll make a permanent repair and I'll modify the color of the coroplast so it doesn't absorb heat the way black does. Another little fault was the bottom ends of the new fender I had built. When making the fender, I bent the top part using a heat gun, but I guess I didn't heat it enough, and I ended up gluing it in place with some remaining tension, which caused it to want to straighten out. The tips buckled out a bit due to the softening of the hot glue in the sun. So when I return home, I'll solve that problem by adding a small metal angle at each end. Now it's the morning of the third day. I'm heading back home under a clear sky, which should allow the solar panel to operate at near optimum. The return trip is along the very same route as the outbound trip. I always prefer a circuit as opposed to returning on the same route, but this is the only way to reach Plaisance from my home. We're now in Masson and it's lunchtime, so I'll stop here and have lunch. The water towers of the Papier Masson paper mill are in full view. I'm setting up my solar panel at an angle to the sun. I use my bicycle helmet to prop up the hood of the camper to the correct angle. This angle gives me a good 1.3 amps, which works out to 75 watts. I'm sitting down on the park bench for lunch. I'm putting together the ingredients for a simple tortilla wrap with cream cheese and canned mackerel. All of these ingredients travel very well without refrigeration. Then I sit down in the shade and rest my old bones while the solar panel re-energizes my bicycle's battery. At the end of an hour and 15 minutes, my battery has increased its capacity from 3 to 4 bars out of a potential of 5 bars. Even a single 100-watt solar panel can produce a lot of power when conditions are ideal. And if you have enough time. At the beginning, one of my objectives was to test myself as well as the bicycle and camper. What I was alluding to is my physical condition. Last November I came down with sciatica. If you've known anybody with that condition, you know that it's a very painful condition. In my case, the pain was so intense I had to put a complete stop to my morning walks. And these early day walks were what kept me in shape. When you're 77, an interruption in your physical activities can have a very serious effect on your overall physical condition. I still haven't recovered fully from that setback. For the first time in my life, I've known what it means to be tired. I've heard other people say that they were tired, but I didn't really understand what that meant and how that affected them. Now I know. Sometimes the day after a day of activity, such as a 50-kilometer bike ride, I'm so tired that I feel that I have to drag myself around to get anything done. I just have to keep on working at shrinking that spare tire around my waist. The other change I've made was to adopt an exercise program. This is important since my knees are getting increasingly sore. Now I'm on a waiting list for a knee replacement. Since my knees no longer allow me to walk as a means of exercise, I now do a 30-minute workout every morning before breakfast. It's easy on the articulations, it provides good cardio, and the use of weights will strengthen my muscles. I think that with these new measures, I'm on the track to recovery. But what all this means is that for the time being, I'll have to limit my travel days to 50 or 60 kilometers at most. So for my next long trip, I'll have to plan my route carefully to plan campgrounds within easy reach of each other. I think it was a good idea to do a test run before embarking on a long trip. Within the next few days, I'll repair the foot pull-out on the fender, and shortly I'll be in shape to tackle that longer trip. And here I am back home. If you'd like more information about electric bicycles, bicycle trailers, or bicycle touring, or if you'd like to buy a copy of one of my books, go to my website, www.robertberiault.com. Thanks for watching, and never quit cycling.